I'm sorry, Traveler and Paimon.
Yeah, sorry.
Paimon doesn't know where to start. We trusted you two. We based our entire reasoning on the assumption that you weren't bad guys. Not to set the wrong tone or anything, but Paimon's really mad!
I'm very sorry. I know you're angry, and reasonably so, but please, let me explain. I know you've clashed with the Vatui several times before. I wouldn't be surprised if just hearing the word is enough to make you upset. But our organization is very, very large, and the Harbingers have very different personalities and goals.
Right now, we want to save people. As many as we can.
That's right. I'm sure we're on the same page when it comes to this nation and the disaster that its people might face. I knew if it weren't for our respective identities, we could become good friends. That's why I didn't wish to flat out lie to you, but chose to hide some details instead. The truth is very important, but being completely transparent about everything would see us spending more effort than we need to. Right. So, you be the judge. Heck, if I were you, I fear that I'd even struggle to trust me at this point. You met a Fatus who works as a magician, a trickster by trade. All by coincidence, too. But still, I'm asking you to trust me. I am no criminal. At least, not in this case.
Sorry. Please forgive us.
Well, you both say that, but... Right, let's hear your answer first, and no lies now!
Of course. I'll answer any question you ask. We've been trying to find out how the Oratrice operates. We want to know why it has a consciousness. Why can it deliver sentences accurately? During our investigations, we learned that the machine's core is beneath it. From that moment on, Lynette and I have been designing this box swap trick, with the objective of getting close to the core.
Is that why you needed a whole minute?
That's right. In truth, the audience would take about 75 seconds to count down from 60, while I would only need 15 to get to the opposite box. So, after jumping into the tunnel, I accessed the Opera House basement via the vent, and went to investigate the room in which the core is stored.
That air vent was created during the construction of the tunnel specifically to execute this step.
Well, nothing. As soon as I reached that room and was about to investigate, I heard someone's voice. Which should have been impossible, of course. I was quite certain that I was the only one in the room. That voice seemed to recognize me and tried to speak to me. I chose to err on the side of caution and retreated the way I came. On the way back, I saw the broken vase and the clothes on the ground, but the countdown was almost finished, so there wasn't time to give it any thought. After that, the homicide occurred just as you saw.
Well, that explains why you didn't hear the thud.
Because of that prophecy I told you about, of course. We must know all we can about this nation's secrets in order to deal with that prophesized crisis.
That's the only way we can save everyone.
So, there you have it. The whole truth. I swear, I didn't hide anything from you this time. It was never my wish to proceed under this cloud of mistrust either. But like I said earlier, you can be the judge. If you want to leave because you don't trust the Fatui, there's nothing I can do to stop you.
Well, Traveler, you decide. Paimon will follow your lead however you choose.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for giving us a chance.
The current problem is that the scales are tipped pretty badly against you two. If we want to refute the Hydro Archon's accusations, we're gonna need a seriously watertight defense. Huh? Oh, Paimon thinks she gets what you mean.
The world remains constant over the centuries, but human life is like the dew at dawn, or a bubble rising through water. Transitory. Inactivity serves no purpose whatsoever. The world remains constant over the centuries, But human life is like the dew at dawn, or a bubble rising through water. Transitory.
Both parties have returned to their positions. Let us continue the trial. When last we left off, Mr. Linney acknowledged the new evidence presented by Lady Farina as fact. Therefore, Lady Farina may continue stating her reconstruction of the events.
That took long enough. Now then, if everyone would lend me their attention. At this stage, let's revisit that scene from Linney's perspective. countdown began, he entered the tunnel. When the flatbed trolley passed, he opened the box and got into an altercation with Halsey, which caused the loud thud. He did not realize that the sound could be heard by everyone in the opera house, which is why he claimed earlier that he could not hear the sound. Finally, he used the vase to knock her out, before making her change clothes to prevent others from recognizing her. At this time, Cowell arrived in the tunnel, having heard that strange noise, and caught Linny red-handed. So Linny proceeded to knock him out too before stuffing him into that box. Afterward, Linny passed the unconscious Halsey to his accomplice through the magic box in the audience stands, before operating the devices such that Cowell's death would be ruled an accident. And there you have it. That's the truth behind what happened.
Does the defendant's side have any objections to Lady Farina's description of the events?
The key to refuting Lady Farina is the order of events. What Linny experienced... Seems this won't produce a particular... Linny went to the room that contains the Oratrice's core. This is the actual truth. Linny did not take part in the underground altercation. He only witnessed traces of the aftermath. According to Linny, he left via the vent after entering the tunnel.
Ahem! Attention! Ace Detective Paimon has something to say! When the countdown started, Linny did indeed go into the tunnel. But he immediately used a vent to access the Opera House basement, which is where the underground core of the Oratrice is stored. Once he reached that area, he heard a voice in what should have been an empty room. Since he felt something was amiss, he returned immediately. The crime scene had already developed by the time he reached the tunnel again, and in order to complete the magic trick, he did not remain there for any length of time. Finally, he reached the surface, and that was when the accident happened from his point of view. Therefore, he's innocent! Paimon did it! Paimon actually managed to say all that! Oh, wasn't it awesome?
In other words, you believe that he knew nothing of the incident?
That's right!
My reasoning?
If that's the case, then if Cowell hadn't entered the tunnel, who was the entire setup meant to kill? Assuming that what you say is true, Linny only needed to kidnap the young girl to cause a new disappearance case. What would the point of killing someone on stage be?
They have a point.
That's right, you tell them! And that's why they're partners of mine. They've managed to turn things around. Oh, well, your denial is very strident, I'll give you that. But what proof do you have to back your claims? Of course I do. If he had been in the magic box the whole time, how could he have not heard that sound? Why do you ask? You're saying that he wasn't?
Are you sure we don't need to give this more thought? Paimon thinks there's something off here. Are you sure we don't need to give this... That's right! Linny wasn't in the box or in the tunnel. That's why he didn't hear anything strange during the performance. This means that when the crime happened, Linny had already entered the basement via the vent. The same clue you used to disprove his alibi has now become the best proof! Ha ha! How do you like that?
Well played. To think you'd use such logic. Well then, if it wasn't Linny who committed the crimes, then who was it?
is the missing person and an ordinary audience member. Or did she have her own scheme all along? Could there have been a third person involved? Is that... The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant. He...
That can't be right. Are you serious? The killer was, in fact, Cowell, the deceased!
Oh, is that so? How interesting! Let's hear your reasoning then.
What I must do next is recreate the truth. What Cowell did, and how he went from would-be perpetrator to victim. It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. They would likely have bumped into Linny as well. Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment, which gave our criminal ample time. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing Halsey and the criminal. Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel, so there must have been some fear that she would attract attention. The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant. No one entered or left the opera house through its entrances. So, where would the criminal have wanted to take Halsey? Halsey's clothing was in the Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment, which gave our criminal ample time. It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. They would likely have bumped into Linny as well. The deceased's name is Cowell. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing Halsey and... The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. They would likely have bumped into Linny as well. The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant. No one entered or left the opera house through its entrances. It would have been tough for both people to fit. No one entered or left the opera house through its entrances. Lenny was not in the tunnel at that moment, which... Halsey's clothing was in the... Lenny was not in the tunnel at that... The deceased's name is Cowell. Lenny was not in the tunnel at that... Lenny was not in the tunnel... The deceased's name is Cowell, Lenny's... Halsey's clothing was in...
What's wrong, Traveler? Are you still having trouble figuring things out?
I see how it is. So this was all just a bluff. And here I thought you had something to show for it. But it seems you're still far from the truth.
Look, since we're at a dead end, why not consider a different track? Just like the trick as it transpired, the end result must have been utterly different from the magician's initial design.
If only we knew how Halsey disappeared.
Well, that would be nice, but the tunnel only has 3 exits, and none of them seem very likely. And it's not like this is a magic trick where you can just make a real live person disappear. You know, like you did from that water tank, Lynette.
Excuse my interruption, dear opponents, but do you not see that the crowd is growing impatient? There is no greater sin in this opera house than an awkward delay in the performance.
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Lenny was not in the tunnel at that moment, which gave our criminal ample time. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing Halsey and the criminal. The deceased's name is Cowell, Lenny's assistant. The vase was not broken by chance. It was used to cover important evidence. The water.
Paimon gets it! It all comes together if Halsey disappeared instead of being kidnapped. Lynette escaped from the water tank, vanishing gradually and leaving only clothes behind. If there's a similar method where a person could be transformed into water...
Just a moment, please. I do hope you know how preposterous you sound at the moment. How could a person ever be transformed into water? This is reality we're talking about here, not some magic trick. Must we really? I should think that of anyone. Your friend Linny already knows this truth very well. Magic tricks are ultimately just illusions and misdirection. But Halsey's disappearance is very real. We're talking about two completely different things.
Even so, I trust the Traveler's judgment. The truth must be out there somewhere. Perhaps some new line of reasoning may open if we try to gather all the focal points that don't make sense. Since Cal was the deceased, we haven't placed much attention on him. But given that we aren't making much progress with the case, it wouldn't hurt to have a look at his belongings, would it?
People really do come up with all sorts of harebrained schemes when at the end of their rope. The way I see it, your suggestion that we broaden the scope of our investigation is nothing but a tactic for stalling the trial.
Nevertheless, I believe that this is a reasonable request on the part of an attorney. Since the trial does indeed appear to be at an impasse, I believe that additional evidence may help us make more progress. Guards, please step into the lounge and examine the personal effects of the deceased Cowl.
We are still examining the items, but we have already made critical progress that we feel must be shared with everyone post-haste. We discovered several test tubes of fluid within Cowl's baggage, each labeled separately. The notebook in his backpack claims that these fluids are water from the primordial sea.
The primordial sea.
The note's contents also indicate that Cowell belonged to an organization that sells illegal drugs and that he had an accomplice. The notebook has many entries concerning safe usage of these fluids, in which the keyword dissolve appears many times. One of these tubes was labeled Opera Epiclese, along with yesterday's date. It is empty. The notes also state that these dissolution properties work exclusively on people from Fontaine. It's likely that Halsey was chosen as some sort of test subject. As such, we believe that the defense's hypothesis is, in fact, supported by sufficient evidence.
You've gotta be kidding! People dissolving into water?
Could something so ridiculous actually be true?
Wait a moment. This reminds me of a certain prophecy, but it's just a coincidence, isn't it?
If people can become water, does that mean that the water tank's real use was as a means to hide water stains? And if Cowl was targeting that girl... Wait just a minute. Could that mean... You two, with me, quick!
Demoiselle, wait! What about your partners?
Let's go. Just trust me.
Order! Order! It is undeniable that further examination of the deceased's personal effects has yielded some surprising results. But still, let us assume that these clues are indeed authentic, albeit with the understanding that Ms. Halsey has yet to be found. Guards, please continue examining the items along these lines. Mr. Linney, it appears your hypothesis is supported by the evidence, so please continue speaking.
Of course. Thank you, Your Honor. If we uphold this hypothesis, I believe that many of this case's seemingly unrelated clues can be connected together.
Right! Like the metal hook! That one didn't make sense at all. Let's think about this. Cowell's methods must have something to do with that water from the primordial sea.
Lynette was in the magic box on stage the entire time. Did she have something to do with this? I remember there was something else within the inner layer of that box. The deceased's name is Cowell, Linney's Now it seems like the hook rope was not meant for another magic trick, but was instead some form of triggering mechanism. The water from the primordial sea should already have been prepped before. I remember there was something else within the inner layer of that box. Lynette was in the magic box on stage the entire time. I remember there was something else within the inner layer of that box.
Ahem! It's Ace Detective Paimon's time to shine again! In the original plan, Cowl would tamper with the water tank rope and the number selector securing his target. When the magic box containing Halsey was lowered, the metal hook would retract gradually and pierce the balloon at the top of the box. When the balloon attached to the box popped, the water from the primordial seed inside it would pour down and dissolve Halsey. Afterward, Cowl would enter the tunnel and break the flower vase to conceal the water inside the tunnel, with the remaining evidence being covered up by the water tank on stage. But he encountered something unexpected in the tunnel, and wound up being fatally hit by the same water tank he meant to use to cover his tracks.
Huh. That does make sense.
That actually links together a lot of the more confusing pieces of evidence.
Oh dear, what do I do? Even I think they sound convincing now. Have I falsely accused an innocent person? What a humiliation.
Now, it seems like the only point of contention remaining is the exact circumstances that led to Cowl's death. His notes mentioned he had an accomplice who could be related to the situation.
On that note, the guards have just contacted me indicating that they uncovered new evidence. I shall now invite him on stage to share it with us.
Thank you, Your Honor. We were just inspecting the luggage of the other people involved in this case.